Verse 123. If such errors were granted, it would not be possible to talk about the non-existence of self-substance. As the nature of reality is erroneously understood, there is something perceived where there is really no self-substance, or is indeed non-existent. Verse 120, and quite a few of the verses after it, are concerned with what's referred to here as errors. And the error is believing that there are things out there, individual entities which exist, that they somehow have some kind of reality behind them. It's something which is assumed by both religious people and scientific people. Religious people will think in terms of some kind of soul, that this is just the flesh that we're perceiving. And scientists will think in terms of a subatomic reality. There are things out there which have a reality which is not directly knowable. This is the backstory we carry with us in our moment-to-moment experience. We relate to this backstory, this belief in how things are, rather than with how things are. So the errors which are mentioned here is the belief that things exist as individual entities. They exist by themselves. You'll notice that in the two examples I gave, there is no observable evidence for believing in them. The soul is not observable, and the subatomic reality is not observable. You might say it is, but it's only observable indirectly. And some people would say the soul is observable indirectly as well. In enlightenment practice, we are not concerned with the backstory, because this backstory actually detracts, it occludes reality as it is. Now you might argue with this. It would be quite natural to argue with this. But there's a practical purpose to this understanding from the perspective of the enlightenment practitioner. We don't want an excuse for our attention to be hijacked. So as enlightenment practitioners, what we do, it's as if we're watching the television set, and rather than getting caught up with what appears on the screen, we look at the television set. We look at the surface of the screen, rather than get sucked into any dramas that are appearing. So it's not very interesting, really. We become equanimous with respect to what's appearing on the screen, because we're looking at the apparatus, the unchanging apparatus, and it loses interest. So we're no longer getting concerned with any backstories. We're no longer giving ourselves any excuses to get lost, to be hypnotized by what appears on the screen. Because there's a far more interesting screen. There's a screen in which all these appearances are appearing. It's the screen of our own awareness. So as well as dumping the backstory, we come back to realization of our awareness. This is an important aspect of enlightenment practice. So we cannot allow for the possibility that anything out there has got its own individual reality. Verse 124 tells us, what is seen as multiplicity is the mind saturated with the forms of evil habits. Because of mental delusions, one clings to forms and appearances, regarding them as objective realities. So these evil habits are convictions in the backstory. We don't just perceive things, we cognize things, which means that we have this backstory which gives substance to what we're perceiving. I've got a bit of news for you, by the way. The world is actually flat. Not flat this way, not flat like a saucer or a horizontal plane. It's not flat like a horizontal plane. It's flat like a wall. It's flat like a wall. We give this extra dimension to it, this dimension of depth, because we have this experience of being able to move backwards and forwards. Occasionally we meet resistance. Occasionally we meet resistance. So when we meet resistance, it's associated with a particular form, particular appearance, and we say it's near. Otherwise we say it's far. But all that's going on is resistance. And that wall is actually at no distance from ourselves. It's right here. The wall of appearances. It's like sounds. All sounds are happening right here. But we give them a backstory. And we project them out and say it's all out there. It's more easy to understand this when you think in terms of sounds. But in enlightenment practice, we're experiencing everything here, not out there. And we're experiencing it without backstory, which means that we're not giving what we experience objective reality. And this is the universe. The universe isn't a great bubble of galaxies of stars and nebula and whatever else, and nebulae and whatever else. The universe is this. It's this constant stream of appearances. This is the fundamental creativity of the universe. It's staggering in its presence. It's fundamental in its presence. Its presence is our own essential sense of being. It's intimate to us. The backstory is very limited. It's very limiting. And yet, as enlightenment practitioners, we enter into it. We enter into it 100%. Because now we know the truth. Now we know the truth, we can enjoy the movie. We can enjoy the drama. We can give ourselves 100% to it. Like a good actor can give himself or herself 100% to the role. So when Anthony Hopkins is playing the role of a serial killer, he's not a serial killer. He's just a very good actor who can give himself 100% to the role. But he knows he's not that person. So we're actors on the stage. The enlightenment practitioner is an excellent actor on the stage because they know it's not real. When you know something is not real, you can give it 100%. So, enlightenment practice isn't life denying. It's living life to the full. Because we're invigorated by knowledge of its essential emptiness.